ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen.
That computers will outperform us in most tasks and will make humans redundant. And then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
When do you think we'll hit real mass adoption? We have about 500 million users owning crypto, but there's about basically 8 billion people in the world, so we still got a way to go. And then the second one, as an industry, what do you think we can do as an industry so we can build the kind of confidence that we can actually onboard the billions, and when do you think this will happen? Thank you.
That's a great question. So let's talk about mass adoption. Jenny, do you want to start?
Well, I actually think one of the challenges today is if you're, let's say you're managing clients' accounts and you're holding securities, ETFs, mutual funds, whatever it is. Unfortunately, you have to build a whole separate infrastructure to be, wallet. By the way, those securities don't fit in the wallet. You need the tokenizations. And unless your clients are breaking down the door, frankly, they're opening it up at Coinbase and they're sort of keeping two accounts. And so I think actually this lack of wallet has been one of the challenges. That it hasn't been integrated on the platforms across the board, and there hasn't been enough incentive to do it.
Did anyone else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I can add it in. So first of all, I think getting to 500 million users is exceptional, and we should celebrate that over the last 10 years. So I feel really good about the adoption curve is looking similar to early days of internet, and I think it'll get to half the world in 10 years or something like that, 10, 15, I don't know. The key pieces to get that adoption, in my mind, so one is that, we need to make sure that traditional financial services are integrated with this. So we saw the ETFs get approved, and they were the fastest growing ETFs of all time, breaking every record. And so that brought in a lot of institutional money. We also need to get it working in emerging markets. And so there's great work, that the Stellar Foundation is doing, and a lot of self-custodial wallets are becoming popular there. I think Nigeria is actually the most popular per capita country for crypto adoption. And so we'll see. I think that's one way to get to $1 billion is really the more emerging markets. The regulatory clarity will help. And I think one last one I would say is that we need to make crypto just easier to use, right? It's still a little too complicated. I mean, there's these addresses that they don't look like human readable. They look like random strings of numbers and letters that's being replaced by an Ethereum name system as an example. So you send it to human readable names. The whole concept of private keys and potentially losing your money, this is a non-starter to get to billions of people, I think. So eventually I think we're going to have people using crypto. They don't even really know it's crypto underneath. They're just trying to send money, earn a living, get a loan for their business. Those are the things that they really want to get done, and use all this new category of applications that are getting built online, the Web3 apps as well. So most people don't understand how electricity works, but they can flip on a light switch. I think we need to make it that simple.
Well, the one thing I would add is the stablecoin legislation, because I really do think if we get regulatory clarity on stablecoins in the U.S. and our central bank actually accepts that legislation, it will permeate into the other banks, and I think that will make it a lot easier. I think that uncertainty about that fungibility, that dollar fungibility, I think is caused a little bit of a slowdown. And I would just point out, good stablecoin legislation is good for the U.S. dollar. If you look at things like Tether or Circle, they own tons of U.S. treasuries, which is good for the U.S. I think Tether, I read that they own more U.S. treasuries than Germany or Japan. And so I just want you to think about it this way. We got the Morse code. We were sending messages at the speed of light, but we were moving the money by stagecoach and horses. We now can move the money at the speed of light. And so let's get the legislation right to match the innovation of the technology.
Can I just add one more thing on that? I think privacy is also another thing. We need to get to the place where
We were sort of stalled in doing any work on privacy because of concerns around Tornado Cash and all the issues that came up. We need to get to the place where we're actually focusing on that ease of use, the UX design, but also bringing privacy into it. And then it becomes easy for mass adoption.
Give a type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever, but like in this particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again.
Yeah.
So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it.
Take our money market fund. There are massive stable coins out there that are completely unregulated that transact all over the world. Oh, by the way, the owners of the stable coin collect all the yield to themselves. None of that goes out to the participants. The moment the yield is paid out to the participants, that becomes a security and then gets regulated, and therefore there's been no growth. So I'd actually argue that billions and billions of dollars have been robbed for individuals by not getting the yield on their own money.
I mean, this is a welcome development for the sector to be calling for regulation, and I'm just so sorry that you had these frustrations where you tried to engage regulators and said we need regulation, and they wouldn't come with regulation. I think we must also spare the regulators, because sometimes they must understand what they have to regulate, and if you do not take them along, you might have a problem.
I think that's right, and I think that I think this industry has actually done a pretty good job of trying to take them along. But to get to your another point on your question, what really loses when you don't have regulatory clarity, particularly when the regulators were very hostile, some of them very hostile to, at least in the U.S., to the technology, is the technology loses. And what we want to see is the technology and innovation flourish and grow. And so, yes, you now see lots of folks come into it. That wasn't always the case. I mean, I think everybody here can say that there was this big push to say, ignore the U.S. and let's move outside the U.S. and let's just forget like what's happening here. And you can't ignore the U.S. But there was a big frustration. So the technology is the thing. And we want innovation to continue globally, not just in the U.S. We want it to continue globally. And there's always going to be challenges managing the different regulatory environments, but it should never be about the tech stack. The tech stack shouldn't be the focus.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we had the crypto leaders at Davos speaking about regulation, wallets, stable coins, making it seamless, and privacy. And we have Trump sign the executive order that's going to help push regulation along. And of course, that's going to bring in these stable coins and then also wallets. Like Brian Armstrong stated, they want it seamless so the consumer doesn't know how it works. They're just using it. And we also see the players of the fourth industrial revolution trying to push back time. We heard Brian Armstrong say maybe 10 to 15 years away. Guys, we are only 4 years away. And Trump's job is to land us in that fourth industrial revolution. We know the emerging markets in South America are heavily using these stable coins and then also these digital assets. And the big banks and big corporations have already implemented this technology. And like Jerome Powell stated, a lot of people are going to be left behind. And I knew once Trump was going to get in, they were going to speed things up. But I didn't think they would be moving this fast. And when it comes to crypto, I get the demographics because YouTube sends it to us and let us know who's actually listening to the channel. And it's between the ages of 25 and 50. So we know the older generation is going to get left behind, and the younger generation is going to get left behind if they don't have someone to teach them. And the worst part about the younger generation, they're in an illusion. The older generation, certain things they're not going to do anyway. But this younger generation is definitely living an illusion. We see it on a daily basis. And just like the C word, it's going to be easy to sell them on that universal basic income, that free money. But little do they know that money is programmable, telling you what, when, and how to buy, and you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. And guys, don't forget privacy in the fourth industrial revolution is the new gold. And that's another reason why they don't want you to understand the technology, so you fall for the devil's tricks. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now we have Trump again on no taxes on tips. And don't forget, guys, the machines are coming. And the technology that they show us is a joke. We know behind that curtain, those machines are ready to take over the economy. Only thing you have to do is go look up old videos of IBM Watson and what it could do back then. And this probably was back in 2011. And then you add in these quantum computers where the machines will be able to feed off the brain of IBM Watson. Like I tell you, go watch Eagle Eye and it'll give you a perfect example. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. And then we have Trump putting tariffs on Colombia from turning away a plane that had immigrants on it. And guys, we know that's all part of a movie. But these sanctions, these tariffs are going to be used to change energy. We've already seen it. They've already changed the energy. They've already changed the food supply. All this is a gateway to get us over to blockchain and tokenization. And the sheep going in the metaverse. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I'll be working with Congress to get a bill on my desk that cuts taxes for workers, families, small businesses, and very importantly, keeps my promise for a thing called, and I know you didn't hear anything about this, and I'm sure it had no influence on the state, the fact that we won this crazy, massive majority, a state that hadn't been won by a Republican in decades. But I'm sure you haven't heard, but we're going to get it for you. No tax on tips. No tax on tips. So if you're a restaurant worker, a server, a valet, a bellhop, a bartender, or one of my caddies, I go through caddies like candy. If I play badly, I always blame my caddy. Or any other worker who relies on tipped income, your tips will be 100% yours. Joe, Governor, do you think that had an impact on the election? You do? Like what, a half a point? Pretty big. You had an impact, let me tell you. Nationwide, over 4 million workers depend on tip income, including an estimated 700,000 single moms. And here in Nevada, we will have a quarter. Think of it. A quarter of the typical restaurant worker's pay comes from tips. I didn't know that much. That's a lot. Yeah. Many of these workers are some of the very citizens who were hit hard and very hard by the ravages of the Biden economy, which was inflation.
Uber, Bitcoin, self-driving cars. Combine those three together and you have the self-owning taxi. A car that is a corporation that owns itself, pays for the car lease, the car insurance, and the gasoline from the revenues it makes, giving passengers a ride, and there's not a single human involved in that matter.
And he pushed back and says, we will not accept them. And so President Trump turned around and said, well, we're going to slap a 25% tariff on all Colombian goods coming into the U.S., and if we don't resolve it in the week, it's going to go up to 50%. I would say if it wasn't a 180-degree turn, it was probably close to a 170-degree turn. He said he will use the presidential jet from Colombia to fly Colombian citizens back down to Colombia.
Now, going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of a huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're going to get more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets. Now,
it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.